Yeah, sure. The gist of the law is that it penalizes an act or an attempt to distribute leaflets or other items across the border to the North Korea, given that those acts or attempts pose serious risks or danger to the lives or bodies of South Korean people.
So what are those other items?
Yeah, so that's the part where it's stoking much controversies here in South Korea. According to the bill, the language is the leaflets in, etc. And some of the examples listed in that bill is that number one, cash, number two, auxiliary memory devices such as USBs or SD cards, or other kind of items that can generate monetary profits. So that's, I think, the one reason why some human rights advocates have pointed out that even sending medicine or food or rice can be regulated by the law because those medicine and food or rice can be exchanged to generate monetary benefit. So that's the items that are covered in the bill.
What is the motivation behind the South Korean government doing this?
Yeah, so I think there are many different ways to look at the question. Number one is most obviously the South Korean government is trying to protect the lives of the people who are living in the border areas where the leaflet senders usually carry out their activities of sending balloon leaflets across the border. But I think another way to look at this is that the timing. When you look at the development of the inter-Korean relations so far, there's been summits between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, but then it didn't produce much tangible results. And inter-Korean relations hit the rock bottom after the destruction of the joint liaison office last June. And there's also been the killing of a South Korean official a few months ago. So when you look at all these developments, the South Korean government is trying to find a breakthrough in the frozen relationship between two Koreas. So that's the timing, why the timing is important here. And to give you a little bit more context, there's going to be two major events coming up in the beginning of next year. Number one is the 8th Workers' Party Congress in North Korea, which is going to take place in January. And number two is, of course, inauguration of the president-elect Joe Biden. So considering those major events coming up, South Korean government wants to send as many positive messages as possible to promote the amicable relationship between the two Koreas.
Do you think it will be effective in achieving its aims? And what is the likely reaction from North Korea to this move?
So I've interviewed, and we're hearing some releases by the North Korean human rights activists, and many of them are saying that they will not going to abide by the law and then carry out their activities no matter what. So, and also another North Korean activist says that he is going to bring the law to the constitutional courts because he sees this as a violation of free speech. So we have to see the actual developments of those claims. And about the North Korean reaction, it is unclear. We haven't seen any overt signs of messages coming from North Korea. So we need to keep an eye on it and then see how Pyongyang reacts to that.
What are the penalties for anyone breaking the law?
So the maximum would be 3 years in prison or 30 million won in fine. So that's going to amount to about $27,400.
And just finally, how do you see relations progressing going into the new year?
So that really depends on how North Korea would react to all these olive branches South Korean government is holding out, whether they will be willing to actually promote that amicable relationship between the two Koreas. That's an open question. And also it depends on how the U.S. Is trying to improve or deal with the problem with the Korean in the Korean Peninsula. If President-elect Joe Biden is willing to pursue more direct moves to solve these problems in between North and South Korea, yes, that's going to be also one variable. But at this point, there are a lot of open questions out there, and we definitely have to keep an eye on those different developments that can happen around around the Korean Peninsula.
Indeed. Wong Gi-jung, thanks so much for joining The World Tonight.
Thank you.